I figured, why don't I get into one of those scenarios and I'll give you 3 examples of weird shit that happened. So, this time, cookies, dude. Let me put them in the oven. Hold on. Cool. Okay, so this time that I'm talking about, it was when I got arrested. And, well, I, I got arrested just out here. And I put up a little resistance, and so they ended up roughing me up a little bit. And I went to the hospital. And it's a lot of this shit, dude. I go through these experiences and I figured out a lot, and I figured out what's actually happening, and how perception works, and how reality is actually constructed, and like how we're all operating in that space. And so even a lot of the stuff might not make sense, but it was a lot of this stuff just gives me more information to just confirm how strange everything actually operates. But so when I got in there, I was laying on a gurney, and one of the cops that beat me up was looking at I was wearing my alien polo shirt that night, and he was like looking at it, and he made a comment. He was like looking at me very strange too, and he was like, "It's a cool shirt, I like it." I was like, "Yeah, thanks, it's one of my favorite shirts." And he was like, "Have you ever been to New Mexico?" I was like, "Well, just to pass through on the way to other places, but no, I've never really visited." And he said, "I think I would stay away if I were you. You'd probably get shot." I said, "Okay." Later, I got into the jail. There was, I was in my holding cell, right? And there was another prisoner in the cell next to me. And I was very connected to a lot of weird things on a very deep level. And this guy in the cell started screaming, "Get the fuck out of my head! Fuck you! Fuck you, you piece of shit! Get the fuck out of my head!" And he kept screaming it, and he kept screaming and saying different things like that. And I was screaming back at him, "Fuck you! Shut the fuck up!" And then he wouldn't stop. And so I started singing. I was singing "It's a Beautiful Day" by U2. And I was just belting it out, trying to drown out his stupid fucking whining and complaining. "It's a beautiful day. Don't let it get away." And I was singing pretty loud. And then, eventually, the jailer came up to my holding cell. And he said, "Hey, can you keep it down? Because you start getting loud and it's making him go off, and it's just really loud, and if you could just quiet down so he stops, that would be great." I said, "Okay." So I did, and he quieted down. And then, the cool thing, the next day, I was like, I wonder what this motherfucker looks like, dude. Who is this piece of shit? And I went out of the holding cell, and in the hallway there, I looked over to where his cell was, and funny enough, it actually wasn't even a cell. It was a nurse's station that was locked up all night. And I was actually the only prisoner in there. So that's cool. Another weird little thing. I was in there for about, well, on the second day that I was in there, my vape showed up at the jail. A lady cop came through the door, and she was holding like a little, evidence type of bag, and I could see my vape in there. And she brought it into the thing, and I was really excited because I was thinking a lot about it, and because I vape quite a bit. So I was like, kept thinking about it, kept wanting my vape. And then, sure enough, it actually showed up. But, why? Not only was I in there for 2 days, so that means not only, I'm guessing I lost it out here somewhere, and somebody saw it, and they went, oh, that must be that dude's vape that got arrested. I'll do a good deed, and I'll bring it to the jail for him. But, even the cop told me when I left, he said, I don't know who brought this in, but they did. Is that yours? I said, yeah. It might have been the first night, and that cop came up to my holding cell earlier in that night, because I was asking him, when am I getting out of here? What was I even charged with? Why am I even here? You guys didn't even read me any rights. What's happening? And he was like, came back, and then he was like, yeah, so I just talked to him, and they are going to be charging you with felony assault on an officer. So I don't know exactly when you're going to get out of here. And I looked at him, and I said, no, they're not. He said, yeah, I just talked to him, and they're gonna charge you with felony assault on an officer and resisting arrest. And I said, no, that's not true. He said, yeah. I said, no, that's not happening. When do I get out of here? And he kind of looked at me, a little dumbfounded. What do you want me to do? I'm telling you the way it's gonna happen, so when do I leave? So I wouldn't budge. And then he left. And then, I ended up getting all the charges dropped, except for disturbing the peace. Well, I wasn't even charged with anything except disturbing the peace. Sick, dude. Bye, guys.